Everyone, and welcome. I'm thrilled you could join us today for our webinar, Doing Business in Canada, which, as no surprise, is one of Arkansas's favorite trading partners. My name is Jonathan Bricker, and I serve as the chair of the Arkansas District Export Council. In my day job, I'm a commercial relationship manager with Regions Bank based in Rogers, Arkansas. Before we dive in, I want to send a huge thank you to our sponsors, Arkansas Manufacturing Solutions and Arkansas Workforce Connections. Their continued support and partnership throughout the year are truly what make these webinars possible and successful, so we're very grateful. And thank you all for being here today. If you're new to the District Export Council or wondering exactly what we do, let me give you the quick version. We're a private nonprofit organization made up of seasoned international business professionals who work closely with current and aspiring exporters. Every DEC member is appointed by the U.S. Secretary of Commerce based on our real-world experience in global trade. We bring a lot of experience across a wide range of industries. Now, we don't claim to have every answer, but chances are we know someone who does. At our core, the DEC is all about connections. We aim to be your strategic partner in exporting and help you grow your business and your bottom line. My hope today is that you walk away feeling more confident about your exporting opportunities. And if questions pop up during the webinar that you don't want to ask here, that's no problem at all. Visit us at exportarkansas.org, and one of our members will be happy to follow up with you. You can also sign up for our monthly newsletter. It's packed full of relevant international trade news and upcoming trade opportunities. Now, I want to ask everyone on here a quick question, but don't worry, you don't have to answer out loud. Do you know an Arkansas company that's currently exporting? Do you think that company might be a strong candidate to win the Governor's Award for Excellence in Global Trade? Well, our nomination form is open right now. It's quick and easy to complete, and we'd love your help on helping identify our next winner. And you can find that on our website as well. Also want to point out a valuable strategic partner who's joining us on the call today. Richard Duda is the director of the U.S. Commercial Service International Trade Administration Office in Little Rock. Say hi, Richard. Richard's office is a federal resource to help Arkansas companies expand their sales into overseas markets and creating exporting strategies and delivering customized services. He works closely with our colleagues at the U.S. Embassy across the globe to help facilitate exports efficiently and with as little risk as possible. Now, it's my pleasure to introduce today's moderator, Mr. Rudy Ortiz. Rudy is the owner of Strategic Business Services, LLC, where he supports companies across a wide range of international business and exporting needs. He works closely with organizations entering new markets and serves as a U.S. partner with Global Market Entry Consultants. He holds an MBA in International Business, is a certified global business professional, and serves as the DEC's Education Chair. We're lucky to have him leading today's discussion. Rudy, with that, I'll turn it over to you.
Jonathan, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. We're going to have a great presentation today. We're going to have Mr. Bradley Harkin with the U.S. Department of Commerce, Commercial Services Division, and he's going to be our featured speaker. Bradley has over 20 years of experience leading global business strategy, commercial diplomacy, and international trade initiatives across North America, Asia, and in Europe, and helping companies and executives overcome complex regulatory policy and market access roadblocks in order to be able to achieve sustainable growth. Interestingly, Bradley is fluent in Mandarin, Japanese, and Greek, and he brings both cultural fluency and deep regional insights that enable him to bridge markets and build trusted relationships at the highest levels. Some of his areas of expertise are critical minerals, clean energy, information and communication technology, medical technology, and infrastructure. And for these reasons, Bradley's our presenter today on the topic of doing business in Canada. So with that, Bradley, take it away.
Thanks so much. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so you guys can see my presentation. Here we go. All right. Rudy, can you see my slide here?
Yes, I can.
Great. So again, thanks for that introduction. It's a pleasure to be with you today. My name is Brad Harker. I'm the Principal Commercial Officer here at the U.S. Department of Commerce here at the U.S. Consulate here in Toronto. As Rudy mentioned, I have served around the world. I've served in, my very first posting was in Athens, Greece, back in 2001 to 2004. And so that's where the Greek comes from. I did my domestic USCS assignment at the U.S. Export Assistance Center in Nashville, Tennessee, and then moved on to postings in Osaka, Japan, Belgrade, Serbia, Beijing, China, Hong Kong, and now I'm in really enjoying my time here in Toronto. So as you can imagine, as you've heard, it's a bit of a tension between the U.S. and Canada on the trade relationship, and there are some ongoing discussions and negotiations with respect to the upcoming renegotiation of the U.S.-Canada-Mexico agreement, USMCA. And so there's definitely been after coming from China and Beijing and then to Hong Kong, where we had multiple high-level trade issues and a trade war. It's been surprising actually to see the amount of issues that we have with Canada here. So look, as Rudy and they mentioned, look, Canada is a massive economy, 11th, and it's our largest and most comprehensive trade relationship, and it supports millions of jobs on both sides of the border. The bilateral relationship is massive, over $1.7 trillion in bilateral trade, roughly $2.5 billion Canadian goes across in trade between the U.S. and Canada every day. 34 states count Canada as their largest goods export partner, and also, as you can imagine, massive bilateral investments between the U.S. and Canada. So a couple quick facts, fast facts. Second largest country in landmass behind Russia, 40 million population, again, 11th largest economy. It is a constitutional monarchy, so you hear a lot of God Save the King and toasts around here. It's kind of a surprise. English and French, of course, because of Quebec's unique structure and autonomy that they have with respect to their culture. Continued focus on the U.S.-Canada partnership, definitely areas of agreement accelerating in climate ambitions, critical minerals. That's a big area that I have focused on tremendously over the last 3 years since I've been posted here. Definitely focusing on Arctic, not only in the watershed, but in Arctic defense. Building a global AI, I'm going to move this over, global alliances, bolstering defense and security, disrupting synthetic opioids, a huge focus of the president, and managing migration in a collaborative manner. Some of the key areas that we do continue to have issues with Canada on is Canadian content. So depending on the product or service, particularly in media, there does continue to be Canadian content requirements. I tell you, when you're listening to the radio and you're driving down, listen to whatever radio station, and you hear, "Wow, is that a Canadian band?" Because you won't hear it anywhere else. Telecommunications and data localization requirements continue to be issues that we at the consulate, at the embassy in Ottawa, continue to focus with, and I can focus on, and I can guarantee you that these will be top of mind as we head into the renegotiation of USMCA starting on July 1. And then talking about this, basically the USMCA, when it was adopted about 6 years ago, was a a renegotiation of NAFTA, which was designed to rebalance trade to support manufacturing, strengthening U.S. trade in agriculture, supporting American small business, and increasing market access for dairy. So we've come a long way since USMCA was initially instituted, but we've got a lot further to go, which is where the president and Jameson Greer, ambassador for the USTR, and Ambassador U.S. Commerce Secretary Lutnick are very focused on. Okay. So tips, and then tips for business, and then we'll go into some details specific to Arkansas. So if you're going to export to, especially goods, they have to have both French and English on them. Keep an eye on the exchange rates. Currently, we're looking at about $1 equates to 1.4 or 1.38 Canadian dollars. So actually, for tourism, it's a great time to come to Canada because American dollars go quite far. The recent lowest level for the Canadian dollar was last summer, and it hit 1.45. So it's still hovering around, again, 1.3 to 1.8, which are still very favorable for tourism, not so much for exporting American goods to Canada, because, of course, it makes our products more expensive. So as we mentioned, it's the second largest country in the world. We have just gone through an absolutely Arctic. I don't know how it was down in Arkansas. I bet it was better than it was here, but incredible snowfalls, particularly here in Toronto, where the city was buried for a good 3 months during the winter. Labeling requirements, I talked about that, regulations and certifications, and you're not allowed to do spamming emails in Canada, so you can't send 1,000 emails without getting sideways with their anti-spam legislation. I'm going to move forward. Okay. So just a quick, I wanted to bring up Ontario because I'm here in Toronto, and it truly is the economic engine of the country. It's larger than Texas or France and Germany combined, about 15 million people, 40% of Canada's GDP. If Ontario were a country in its own right, it would be America's third largest trading partner, with roughly two-way trade at $365 billion. So Ontario matters more than other provinces with respect to the trade relationship with the United States. So Arkansas has a very strong partnership with Canada, as mentioned earlier. Arkansas exports to Canada were about $1.5 billion in 2024. This is the latest data that we have. About 21% of all state exports go to Canada, and Arkansas imports about $1.1 billion of goods from Canada, and then two-way trade, $2.7 billion, and roughly 34,000 jobs are supported by bilateral trade between Arkansas and Canada. What are you guys exporting? Well, plastics, cereals, that's in the agricultural sector, iron and steel. This is definitely, we're going to see some challenge to this given the reciprocal trade tariffs that we're on. So I expect this to come down in 26, in the 26 numbers, electrical parts and nuclear parts, machinery parts, which was actually a surprise to me because of the amount. Well, I just wasn't aware that Arkansas was supplying so much in nuclear machinery parts. Just an anecdote, I was with the ambassador last week. We visited a company called Acon. They're one of the largest manufacturing companies in Canada. Think of them like a Bechtel, so construction and engineering. And they were building out the first of the 3 small modular reactors that are being built here in Greater Toronto, on building their nuclear kind of components for the core of the reactor. So again, imports and trade balance, Canada to Arkansas about 1.15 billion, and then of top three when we're talking about uh, Canada and Mexico, it's and China, it's roughly 43% are in just these three countries. So retaliatory tariff impact. So not as bad as it could be, but certainly we are seeing a greater focus from not only, I would say, Arkansas companies, but from American companies that are approaching the embassy, approaching the consulate with respect to the impacts that they're seeing with respect to retaliatory impacts. So currently here in Ontario and in several other provinces, all alcohol, including wine, beer, and liquor, are currently banned by the province of Ontario, and this is added onto with several other provinces, which has created, I can tell you, a real headache. I can tell you that when the ambassador wakes up in the morning, one of the first things he thinks about is this alcohol ban. It's only about $700 million in trade. And when you talk about the $1 trillion plus bilateral trade that we have, but it has an outside impact, I can tell you, on the way that the president and the ambassador are viewing the relationship, particularly with Ontario. So it's made my job actually quite a bit more difficult. So foreign investment and employment. So roughly 58,000 jobs are employed by foreign controlled companies. I was not able to drill that down to specifically Canada, but that's just a good number for all of you to know. And then total goods exported from Arkansas abroad in 2024 was $6.9 billion. So kind of the bottom line, with roughly 2.7 billion annual two-way trade, Canada remains absolutely an indispensable partner for Arkansas business. And that's why we're doing this webinar, and that's why we want to continue to help through our Export Assistance Center, through the DEC, and through our offices across Canada to help Arkansas companies to compete and win here in Canada. So a couple of, I'd like to kind of dig down quickly into the priority sectors where we see the most opportunity for American companies as they're looking to expand or grow their business in Canada. So as I mentioned, critical minerals and the entire supply chain has been a primary focus, I can tell you, since I got here in 2023, and has only increased as the administration has continued to really open the taps, I would say, with respect to the Department of War, Exim Bank, the Development Finance Corporation, all in an effort to begin the process of breaking China's almost universal control on critical mineral processing. And so this has been a huge area where we've been talking with Canadian companies that are looking to potentially build out a processing facility in the United States, or even the Department of War has begun financing some projects that align with the Pentagon's requirements, where we have actually allocated about $130 million in Canadian projects through the Department of Defense Production Act Title III funding framework, where Canada, going back to World War II, is considered domestic for some Department of War requirements for their industrial supply chain. So kind of a big focus. So here's just one example. The Department of Defense has made an investment to strengthen the tungsten supply chain in a project out in British Columbia. And this is also key, I would say, for Canadian companies in the defense sector. The The administration here, the Carney government recently announced a $7 billion fund to strengthen production of defense articles in Canada. So we certainly expect to get a piece of that pie, given the fact that reciprocally, we, the United States, have many contracts with Canadian suppliers that go into the Pentagon supply chain. So keep an eye out for what's happening in Canada's space as they look to ramp up their own defense production. That was announced by the Carney administration a little over, I would say, a month to 6 weeks ago. And again, this dovetails very much with the president's actions, lots of executive orders to increase mineral production and energy as well. So power generation, I talked briefly about my visit with the ambassador to AECON last week. This has been one of the biggest surprises since I have been here, is just how massive, particularly Ontario is. It's the hub of nuclear power generation in Canada. The province, when you combine nuclear, hydro, and other renewable sources, it's something like 80% renewable, just because of the massive size of the nuclear and hydro plants that you have here. As I mentioned, Canada is host to the first at-scale large, well, I wouldn't say these are 300 megawatt reactors, so they're not what you think of in the SMR category, but they are because they are modularized, and that's where we visited last week with AECON, was the robotic welding of the core components of the reactor core are all being done by robots. And that will definitely help speed up the construction of the 4 SMRs that will be at a place called Darlington, which is just about 30 miles from downtown Toronto. Like the United States, Canada is mulling a massive increase in constructing large builds. So they have announced initial plans to build potentially an additional 10 gigawatts of new nuclear capacity it's at a place called Wesleyville. This is about 100 miles or so to the east between Toronto and Kingston. So keep an eye on this space. If you've been following in this space, the president did announce an $80 billion package to support 10 additional nuclear builds of our own in the United States. These are going to be the Westinghouse AP1000 reactors. So we're definitely advocating for Canada to adopt the AP1000 as for their additional builds, so that we have a lot of synergies in building out the supply chain for those. Also, some smaller, we do talk about micro reactors. Westinghouse here in Canada is host to what's called their eVinci microreactor. This is a very interesting project where these are designed for smaller mining operations, particularly in rural areas that are currently having to fly in or barge in diesel fuel to maintain either electricity, heating, and the like in rural areas of Canada. They are definitely going all out also on construction of particular wind power. So Bearhead Energy, an American company, has taken a big piece of Nova Scotia's 2 gigawatt project in Nova Scotia, and then other areas in energy, clean hydrogen. They're also focusing on doing clean hydrogen by utilizing the massive, as I mentioned earlier, renewable assets they have here, particularly in the hydropower sector. Niagara Falls, which is just around the corner from Toronto, about an hour and a half drive, we share this massive resource between the United States and Canada for hydropower production. Moving on, outside of power and critical minerals, medtech is also a huge focus, particularly here in Ontario. Just to the west of here is a town called Mississauga. This is where we have kind of the core hub of not only the pharma, the biotech, but also the medical device um, technology companies. So we see a lot of opportunity here. A lot of American companies are here active in the market. Most recently, last year, Regeneron, which is a very large US biotech company, established their Canadian headquarters, was there for the opening of that. Recursion is the large med tech and bio trade show that we have every year. Environmental technology is another area that we focus on. Roughly $34.8 billion contribution, roughly 270,000 jobs are in this sector here. And so for Canadian companies that are in this sector, we see opportunities, particularly as roughly 800 Canadian wastewater treatment plants are looking to be upgraded over the next multiple years. I wasn't aware of this when I moved here, but Canada, in particular Toronto, is the heart of AI. One of the professors at the University of Toronto was awarded the Nobel Prize last year for his work in AI in developing the large language models. And so as a result, there is a very much a core focus in AI here. There is a lot of quantum computing startups, whether that is Aurora, the Aurora first modulable, scalable quantum computer under Xanadu, and they're headquartered here in downtown Toronto. And hold on a second, moving on, click. And then Cohere, this is a company that's growing rapidly, about a $10 billion market cap now, that's focused on enterprise solutions for companies in the AI space. So continue to see that. Automotive is absolutely massive and massively important for Canada, particularly in the auto here in Ontario. Between Kingston and all the way to the west toward Detroit and Windsor, we have manufacturing plants by Ford, General Motors, Hitachi, Honda, Stellantis, Toyota, and Volkswagen. And so those OEM manufacturers, combined with the massive number of auto parts and associated manufacturers, make Ontario in particular a focus, especially so certainly in the plastics. I would anticipate you have quite a bit of exposure to that from Arkansas-based businesses that are supplying into the automotive and auto parts supply chain. Aerospace is another big focus. Bombardier is based in Montreal, but we have an entire suite of Canadian companies, American firms that are active here, and European firms. So Arkansas-based companies that are in the aerospace business certainly should be able to find decent opportunity to engage with and make sales and partnerships with Canadian companies. And then lastly, just wrapping up as we go into consumer goods, this is a great place for American companies that are looking to grow their business and I would say tip your toe into the export into a nearby export market. Because of the labeling and other requirements, it's actually a great place to learn and adjust. And because Canada is part of the Commonwealth, which includes countries like the United Kingdom, Australia, New Zealand, that basically mirror Canada's labeling and other requirements. It's a great place once you've got the ability to export to Canada. It basically opens up a bunch of other Commonwealth countries as well. And then retail as well. So this just falls in very closely. You guys are in Arkansas, of course, where Walmart is. I will actually be in Bentonville On June 4th, 5th, and 6th, a buddy of mine works for Sam's Club, and he invited me to come down to their big annual shareholder party. So I'm excited to visit Bentonville, and it'll be my very first time to Arkansas. So excited about that.
Hey, let me know when you're in town. I'll take you to coffee.
I will, Jonathan. You'll have to show us around.
Absolutely. I'll give you the tour of the place. It's great. You'll
That'd
love
be
it.
super. So infrastructure, and actually the Prime Minister just announced a massive additional addition to infrastructure spend. And so not only here in Ontario, but around the country, massive spends on housing, bridges, roads, airports, internet, you name it. They are focused on building out additional infrastructure. So this is also an area where Arkansas or Canadian companies may have an interest. The Gordie Howe Bridge, it's basically the largest infrastructure project between the United States and Canada. This is the brand new bridge that will connect Windsor and Detroit. I need to update this picture because it's basically finished. We're just waiting on some final certifications. And then here in Toronto, Canada's first brand new subway is in about 10, 15 years is under construction here in Toronto. I happen to live right here near Pape on this line, and it's a massive construction project. And having lived in Beijing, Osaka, and Hong Kong, it's good to see that it seems like they're speedily working on this Ontario line. So a couple of things, a couple of large events to keep in mind is if you're looking to come up and engage in some of these key areas that we've discussed. First, there's a large healthcare conference here in April, Waste Expo. This is in the, of course, in the environmental space. Will be in Las Vegas in May, but we do bring quite a few Canadian companies down with us. Select USA Summit, we are crashing right now. We have the largest delegation ever to Select USA next week. About 80 companies now are part of the delegation. We're also bringing a very large group of Canadian buyers down to the restaurant show in Chicago. The International Franchise Expo is also big for us. That's May 29th through 30th. And then going through, we've got the Global Energy Show here in Canada, June 9 through 11. The Bio, which is, this brings a lot of Canadian companies. This trade show moves around the country and has been hosted here in Canada from time to time. That's in June. The Canada Outdoor Farm Show in September. WEFTEC, another environmental show in New Orleans in September. And then MedTech, which was hosted last year here in Toronto, will be in Boston this year.
Bradley, these conferences and show exhibitions, things like that, are a fantastic way for people to go and find, potential distributors and partners, and doing business in various countries. And so the fact that Canada has this much activity going on, I mean, there's a convention for just about everybody that's doing business and that wants to do business in Canada. So make sure that you pay attention to those particular conferences and exhibitions.
Yeah, and I'm going to be sharing this slide with Heidi, and so she'll be sending it out, the slide deck after the webinar. So for as many of you know, kind of our bread and butter is export counseling, market intelligence, business matchmaking, and commercial diplomacy. All of it's on our website, trade.gov, export.gov. And then here in Toronto, just very quickly, it's myself and Chris. I'll be wrapping up my tour here this summer. Laura Baker, who is our Senior Commercial Officer in Singapore, is coming to take my place. Chris Alexander will be here another year, so we'll have a nice bit of overlap and continuity there. And then We've got Aberdeen, Shweta, and Kat as our commercial specialists and our commercial assistant that are really our eyes and ears on the ground that are helping to deliver these services to American companies as they're looking to opportunities, particularly here in Ontario. And we do have offices across the country, Calgary, here in Toronto, Montreal, and of course in Ottawa. And so with that, I'm happy to open it up for questions.
So as it turns out, Bradley, I don't remember in terms of one of the slides that you put on, the
Mhm.
kinds of business that Arkansas has in terms of exports to Canada. But on the nuclear machinery parts, 277 million in 2025, electrical parts, 131 million, iron and steel, 105 million, cereals, meaning things like grains and things like that, like rice, 94 million, and plastics. 92 million. And since you're in Toronto and therefore Ontario, it looks like some of the research that I did that about 23% of Arkansas exports go to Ontario.
Yeah, again, as I mentioned, if it's a country in its own right, it's our third largest trading partner, and so certainly when you're talking about those large numbers that you talked about, particularly nuclear and plastics, you can well, first the nuclear, it says it's self-explanatory, but also I would imagine a lot of those plastics are going into components for auto parts.
Yep. Now I don't currently see any questions. So I tell you what, let's go ahead and open it up for questions. For those of you who have a question, you can either put it on the chat, or if you want to just unmute yourself and ask the question, that would be okay also. So if Miss Heidi, if you will make that possible, that would be great.
What they can do,
Rudy,
go ahead
yep,
and
it looks like we've got one in the Q&A, and the question is, how has or will the trade war between U.S. and Canada impact entry to exports for newcomers?
I mean, so at the end of the day, what you're going to see is, and I mean, you can do your Google search, or you can talk to Claude or ChatGTP, but the biggest issue that we're going to find is currently under the USMCA, the effective tariff rate for cross-border between Canada and the United States is only about 4.6%. So under the current status of USMCA, it's very low. And so if we end up going into maybe unilateral agreements, so you suddenly have a U.S.-Canada agreement and a separate U.S.-Mexico agreement, you might see some changes in the effective tariff rate. And so that is probably the biggest thing to keep an eye on. Is currently most goods between the US and Canada are tariff free. And so if you're brand new coming into Canada, that is probably the biggest consideration as you're coming in, is first, what is your profit margin? If it's really, really slim, then a change to the tariff rate may make it challenging for you to make your exports pencil. If you've got a pretty strong profit margin, then you may be able to absorb it or adjust in other ways. So that's kind of the biggest area is that we're going to see is, and we should start to see, I would hope, some proposals coming out of the Carney administration, particularly in steel and aluminum and auto parts, in some of these big major trade areas where certainly I think the US and Canada have a lot of alignment. And then drilling down into ultimately some of the areas where we continue to see challenges and non-market barriers of American companies that may want to compete in banking or telecommunications. We still see pretty high tariff rates for exports of dairy and poultry into Canada. Canada has a very low quota, so I think it's something like an American company can export up to maybe $500,000 of dairy into Canada at basically no tariff, and then above that 500,000. Again, I'm just giving you an anecdote. It's not every company is different, but the tariff rate triples above the quota level. So again, it really depends on your product or service. I do think long term, look, we are highly integrated between the US and Canada. We need each other. Canada has a lot of the products that we need. I mean, aluminum alone they are the largest supplier of aluminum into the US supply chain. We can't replace that. We're certainly not going to take Chinese aluminum. So I do see once we start negotiations on July 1 that ultimately we will get there. But yeah, it's kind of going to be a bit bumpy until we get the final agreement.
Yeah, and I would assume, and this probably goes for any country you're exporting to, you probably want to make sure that you've got your documents buttoned up and clean, and your finances buttoned up and clean as well, to make it just the process smoother and not test the patience of those that you're trying to sell to.
Well, 100%. I mean, and that's why the district export counselors are so important for our local businesses, our local Arkansas businesses, because you've got the expertise, especially if you're looking to engage in exports and doing some export credit or insurance or especially on the shipping and all of the information that's required in logistics. And so I always recommend look lean on your local suppliers, your local experts, and don't get yourself upside down.
Man, I owe you a lot more than a coffee now for that plug. Thank
For
you.
that plug.
All right, we got a couple more questions here.
Yeah.
One is, agricultural products from both countries are mutually regulated by Health Canada and FDA. Is there a coordination of both agencies?
This is a USDA question. So as you guys might be aware, we are basically the U.S. Department of Commerce does all ag. I assume so. I mean, that's a good question to ask, and I can go to my FAS colleagues, my Foreign Agricultural Service colleagues in Ottawa. Certainly, there's alignment. Certainly, there is integration. I can tell you in pharma, though, Canada has an entirely archaic and Byzantine and extremely challenging review process. So for a new molecule, one of these super drugs that's coming out in the United States, they here in Canada do not have reciprocal agreement to where, oh, that FDA drug is fully certified to treat X cancer. They have it split between the provinces. All 13 provinces negotiate individually, if you can imagine this. Plus, then you have their own federal requirements. So I don't think ag is nearly as challenging as that. But there are cases in industries where we find Canada is incredibly challenging. So let me get back to you on the integration between USDA and the Canadian ag services, and that's a good question.
Yeah, I think you'll find that almost throughout the world, there isn't any direct alignment. It's not like, oh, well, it's FDA approved, so we're good. It's not like that. And in most other countries, their regime for inspections and whatnot are significantly more stringent. And so there isn't this one for one deal. You do have to pay attention to what the requirements are of almost any country. They will be different at some level than our own agencies.
Mm-hmm.
The next
so
question.
What I'm going to do is,
go ahead, John.
Yeah, real quick, Bradley, I'm going to email that question to you, and that way we can follow up on that.
Yep.
And you'll have my contact info for that coffee.
I was telling you, or the happy hour.
That's right. Hey, now you're speaking my language.
Okay. The next question we've got is, can you speak to your workforce needs and Canada's systems for training and meeting the workforce skills needed going forward?
Just like in the United States, depending on the industry, particularly in the skilled trades, we're seeing a much more tight labor market here. Uh, Canada does have, especially in the current immigration climate in the United States, where we're seeing almost zero immigration for specific, particularly in engineering and manufacturing, healthcare, and key priority sectors for the Canadian government. Lots of money for training and the like. And it's also got a little bit more, actually quite a bit more, um, uh, I would say, flexible policies toward additional immigration for key sectors, like I mentioned. Definitely for companies, and we do see companies that are particularly in research and development, IT, software, and the like, that are using Canadian talent because first you're able to get talent easier in from other countries, and then also because of the exchange rate, it actually makes it a lot cheaper. Actually, the salaries are less in Canada, and then combined with the weak Canadian dollar, it can be quite advantageous. Yeah.
Okay, well, I don't think that we currently have any other questions. Ms. Heidi, do you want to talk about the next webinar coming up?
Sure. Let me throw up that slide for you. Yes, our next webinar is Delivering Resilience in Your Global Supply Chain, Managing Tariffs, Disruption, and Strategic Sourcing. And we are having back one of our favorite speakers, Tom Cook of Blue Tiger International. He's with the New York deck, and he also serves on the national board. And he's a walking encyclopedia of information about all of these topics, and he will be sharing his vast expertise with us. So the link is in the chat. If you would like to go ahead and register for that, we'd love to see you back.
You know, and I think you guys have heard me talk often about supply chain management and how critically important it is, and how much trouble you can get to if you don't pay attention to it. So this is definitely a webinar that you don't want to miss, to make sure that you do stay on the right side of the supply chain issues. Jonathan, you kind of addressed it a little bit earlier, but can you tell us more about when the Governor's Awards is going to occur and where?
Hey
Yeah,
guys, I'm going
sure.
to jump off. Sorry,
Okay.
I'm going to jump off. I appreciate
Brad,
everybody's time. We've got our Select USA conference, and I got to hop on another webinar.
Bradley, thank you so much. We really appreciate your time.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys and all the best. And please don't feel free to reach out on whatever you guys need.
Right. We'll be putting up your slide as well with your contact information.
I appreciate you guys. Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.
Ciao.
And Jonathan,
Yep.
if you could go ahead
Perfect.
and speak about the Governor's Awards, I'd appreciate that.
Yeah, sure. It's going to be taking place the end of September, I believe the 29th. It's at the ballroom at the Doubletree Hotel down in Little Rock, Arkansas. Typically about 200 people in attendance. We'll have a keynote speaker. We'll be handing out, about 5 awards to companies that are exporting out of the state of Arkansas, and it's a great networking opportunity and a celebration for some of the really cool things that Arkansas companies produce and the amazing people and companies that produce them.
You know, and
So
one of the things that
one of my favorite days of the entire year.
for sure. And one of the things that we've seen for people who have been nominated to and gone on to win these awards is that they wind up getting quite a bit of additional exposure worldwide about their products, and they wind up doing quite a bit more business as a consequence of having been nominated and winning these awards. So a really important promotional type of event that you might be interested in applying to be part of the Governor's Awards for Excellence in Global Trade.
I agree. All right. Well, Rudy, we'll wrap it up. Once again, I want to thank our year-long sponsors of Arkansas Manufacturing Solutions and Arkansas Workforce Connections. If it wasn't for them working alongside of us, we wouldn't be able to hold these webinars that we do free of charge. So thank you again, Rudy. Excellent job as always. Miss Heidi, fantastic work behind the scenes. And hope to see everyone again on the next webinar.
Okay, and we have a slide up right now with the emails of all the people who were either speaking today or are relevant to this. If you have any questions, feel free to contact any one of us. And with that, I think we will call it a day.
Sure.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
All right.
you.
Great. Thanks for coming, y'all.
Okay, bye-bye.
Good.